Hello everyone and welcome to Nicole Reacts Up. I'm Nicole and I react to LGBTQ movies and TV shows. Today we'll be reacting to L Word Gen Q Season 3 Episode 7. I can't believe it's already the 7th episode. We have 3 episodes left until the season is over. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of this season so far. Now I can't wait to get started with the episode, but let's first hear a word from our sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Ability. It's an apparel company that is designed to support, empower, and promote startups, small businesses, and creators. What I love about Ability is that it has become a movement, bringing together those of us who have shared goals. All the apparel is comfortable and nice colors. We got caps, you got crew socks. You can even mix and match caps to match your favorite teams. We got nice Ability t-shirts. And of course, you know my favorite, sports bras. If you watch my videos, you know I love hanging out in sports bras. And this bra is the most soft, comfortable, padded sports bra that I've ever worn. I love this bra. I'm obsessed with it. Whether you're running around, sweating, working out, or you're just hanging out doing absolutely nothing, guilty. Ability is the way to go. Express your ability today. You can find them on Instagram, theability.co, or their website, theability.co. So we start off this episode with Finley in the car. Presumably, she has just been broken up with by Sophie and needs a little bit of help. She's having flashbacks about possibly going back to drinking to deal with the stress, so she needs her sponsor. She calls Tess. Tess is not answering. And even before I remembered what happened to Tess, I was like, damn, Tess is a really bad sponsor. She never answers the phone. And then feeling desperate, Finley calls Shane, either for help from Shane or to get a hold of Tess. Either way, Shane was very cold. Even more cold than I would expect her to ever be. So this was not characteristic of Shane. Finley was like, hey, are you guys around? And Shane was like, no, we're going to Vegas. What's up? Everything okay? And Finley was like, yeah, no, everything's okay. Except for like, not really, no. Everything's horrible. And Shane was like, wow, that sucks. Like, I don't know. That wasn't characteristic of Shane to me. Shane would have already been like, yo, what's wrong? Like, I can hear it in your voice. What's going on, man? Like, let's talk it out. But it was very uncharacteristic. They were like, Shane, we're going to give you like 4 lines and nothing else. And we're not going to give you any more responsibility than that this episode. And apparently she's not in this episode because she was preparing to direct the next episode, episode 8. So that is the most we get of Shane. After Shane tells Finley, we're in Vegas because Tessa's mom died, Finley was like, oh, yeah, no, don't worry about me. Those are real problems. My girlfriend just broke up with me. It's fine. Like, your mom died. Bigger problems. I can soothe myself. Thank you so much. And as she should. There's way bigger problems in this world. And Finley has inconvenienced one too many people already. She starts scrolling through her phone. She was like, who should I call? Who can I call? Pizza Hut? No. Sneaky Link? Don't have one anymore. Rebecca? Remember Rebecca the priest? No, we can't call her. They don't tell you who she calls, but she walks up to a doorstep and you can only imagine whose house it was. It's very nice, big house. That house belonged to, obviously, Carrie. And Carrie's like, huh? You look like shit. Come on in, come on in. But take off your shoes because this is a no-shoe household, which, honestly, same. We wear chancletas in this house. Or slides, slippers. You ain't tracking none of that nasty stuff into my house. We cut to Sophie, Finley. Oh, Finley doesn't live there anymore. Sophie, Micah, and Maribel's house at the bungalows, as they call it. And of course, who's hanging out there? Oh, just an ex-girlfriend. Danny's chilling there. Sophie's got 2 frozen bags of peas on her newly pierced nipples, soothing them, so hopefully the swelling would go down. Danny, who has become the official car service person of this entire series. I know that we think that she is a party planner, but I happen to believe that she has a conglomerate of car service, the gay Uber, if you will. All she is doing this entire season is getting cars for people. Either way, she is talking about the album release party that she has planned, that she was the party planner of, and she's telling them to come to the party. Micah is very excited to go to the party, but he's not sure that he can get Maribel to go, which is not a big surprise to me. Maribel has been nothing but if not the fun sucker of this entire series. Danny asks Sophie how would she feel if Dre came, because of course, she has hooked up with Dre. But here's the thing, Danny has a crush on Dre, and Dre seems to have a crush on Danny as well. Just before Sophie can answer the question, Micah starts the blender, interrupting everything, of course. For somebody who is supposedly smart, educated, and is a therapist, you are very socially unaware. As soon as he finished, he came in with his answer saying, for me, I think it's a little too soon. And it was like, wow, good thing nobody asked you for your opinion. Micah really acts like the voice of reason when it was like, really nobody needs your advice. Not one person. Maybe your clients, maybe them. But nobody in this household. Then, of course, being a lesbian and an ex-girlfriend of Sophie, Danny's like, I want to see. Show me them. So, of course, Sophie shows them. It's interesting what a year's time can do for a broken up couple. Now they're besties. No awkwardness there. We cut over to Alice's studio, where Alice is looking absolutely ravishing in this yellow suit and neck scarf. Last week her phone was yellow, but it cannot match her outfit, so she has a lime green. Now, if you remember from last episode, we were left on a cliffhanger to see who was Alice's soulmate, or the one. She was thinking, when Dana told her in a hallucination, that it was likely Tom, because Dana said it was somebody that sort of knew me, in a way, is what she said. And so Alice took that as, okay, it must have been Tom, because Tom helped me write a book where there was an in-depth chapter about Dana. So there you have it. We were all convinced it was Tom, or at least I was convinced it was Tom. So of course she invites him over to the studio. We see him. He knocks his face into a glass door because of course. And regardless, Alice is still excited to see him. So she invited him over with no explanation as to why, but he has his own ideas of why he's there. He's like, I already know why I'm here. And Alice is like, oh yes, great, because I really wanted to talk to you. And he goes, yes, you want to write a second book with me. Fantastic. What should it be about? And of course, like the L Word has done all season, is explain something that happened a year ago in one sentence. So they explained that Alice and Tom went to Paris together. He proposed at the Eiffel Tower. She said no at the Eiffel Tower, but it was a beautiful view. Thanks again for summing that up for us. We mosey on down to Angie's dorm, where she's talking to her roommate Bella. She's explaining that she's going to her boyfriend, aka her teacher's reading of his book. I don't know. They're going to go to the reading, and then they're going to go to the hotel. And of course, you know what happens at hotels with your teacher studying. No, not studying. Getting it on. For the first time, I didn't know Angie was a virgin. How sweet. Her roommate Bella, super impressed, was like, wow, you're pretty much a famous author's wife. She really skipped ahead a few chapters. Turns out Angie made a chapbook for her teacher, Hendrix, which I had to Google. And a chapbook is a handwritten book of your poetry. It's supposed to be romantic. It is romantic, I guess, but she made one for him. And Bella, the one who we know has a lot of experience with sex, due to what we learned she got stuck inside of her the last time and did not know how to pull it out herself, she proceeds to give Angie more sex advice. She grabs her Costco box of large condoms, hands them to Angie and says, you're gonna need these, and gives her about 20 of them. Like, girl, how many penises does this teacher have? Back on over at Carrie's house, Finley is attempting to cook yet again. And if we haven't learned anything from her previous attempts, perhaps you should give it a rest, Finley. A few episodes, she tried to cook chicken, and it was as dark as steak. Oop. Whoops, Rosie's boots fell off. Let's put these back on her. There you go, girl. Why are you wearing cowboy boots? Like, did she wear cowboy boots? Is that a thing? That's backwards. Did Rosie O'Donnell wear cowboy boots? Message to self. In post-production, please Google that and put a picture here if she is wearing cowboy boots. So Finley's there. She's frustrated. She tried cooking a lasagna and she burnt it. Carrie was like, well, yeah, of course you burned it. You put the oven too hot. So I'm assuming that she put it to like 550 degrees. Once again, Finley does not know how to cook. We know this. Carrie invites Finley over to bowling night with her bowling league. I can't believe it's not gutter. And after a little persuasion, Finley obliges. So we continue back in Alice's studio, where Tom is coming up with all the ideas of what type of book they can write. Meanwhile, Alice is just trying to shut him up so that she can say, I think that we should try this again. He's like, have you been to therapy? Because we're gonna go really deep this time. Tongue-in-cheek self-help book, cookbook. And Alice just had to shut up, and she's like, no, you need to listen to me. She's like, I really have a different question for you, and I really wanted to talk to you about this. Do you think we should... There's freaking meowing coming from the vents. What the heck show is this? So they both hear it, and Alice is like, oh my God, thank God you hear it, because everybody thinks I'm crazy. So now they're checking the vents. They're trying to figure out where the cat is, but they can't find the cat. Back at the house, where Micah is still trying to convince Maribel to go to Fletcher's album release party, Sophie walked in and she's like, I'm gonna go get my hair done. And her sister's like, getting your hair done? I thought you were trying to be single and not do things for other women. And she's like, I'm not getting all glamored up for anybody but myself. And then all of a sudden, Maribel's like, we gotta go watch after her because she's a hot mess. We're going to that party. So we are finally at the album release party, and Danny has invited Dre under the guise of, come and I will introduce you to industry people and so you can start your career. And it was really just like, come so we can make out and I love you. So Dre shows up, they're chit-chatting, and Danny's like, so I'm gonna introduce you to this person, introduce you to that person. Oh, Sophie's coming, by the way. And Dre's like, Sophie? And Danny's like, yes, she produces the Alice show, so I figured you can talk to her. And Dre was like, oh, she does. Okay. I did not know what she did for a living. Danny's like, you can make contacts with her. And of course, Dre made the joke before I could and was like, oh, we made contact. And Danny was not feeling this joke. Danny was like, are you serious about your career? And stop making jokes that make me feel bad and hurt my feelings, okay? Thanks. Danny was just being a baby. They have a cute little moment, even though Danny is rocking this very high pony that I'm not a fan of. She's looking very much like Ariana Grande. I don't even know why they gave her this ponytail. I don't even want to call that. It's almost like a tiny little fountain. She starts fixing Dre's collar and is like, and Dre was like, is this professional? Is this part of the professional services you provide? And Danny was like, yes, I want you to look good. Attention! Oh, they're going F. We're at the bowling alley with Carrie, Misty, and friends. Well, I guess Finley's there too. And also the Britney Spears team. Carrie's not such a good bowler, but don't worry, we have Misty right behind her, touching her sides, showing her the perfect form. But she still got a gutter anyway. So all the while Carrie is failing miserably at bowling, Finley's there in the background, composing what she thinks is a genius text message and a genius idea. She passes it to Carrie and is like, tell me if this is a good idea. Carrie looks at it and is like, no, it's not. The text is to Sophie and it says, hi Soph, hope you're well. Finley is a true wordsmith, I will tell you. Either way, Carrie was like, nope, it's no good, I'm deleting it. Apparently there was more, but Carrie was like, no, I'm deleting it. It's too soon. You shouldn't be texting her, which I agree. And I would be that friend to take the phone and be like, absolutely not. As a matter of fact, I'm locking your phone, putting a new code in it, and I'm not going to tell you what it is. You no longer have a phone. But even though Finley is not a great girlfriend, she can't cook, she's not good at her job, I don't even know what her job is. She can't keep secrets, but what she can do, she can bowl. Finley asked Carrie how come she hasn't asked Misty out yet. And Carrie was like, listen, I don't need to. I don't want to go through heartbreak again. She's like, just being here hanging out with Misty is enough. And then 2 seconds later, she's like, oh, look at Misty's posture. Go, Misty. You can do it. Hit a strike. Of course, being the... oh man, I was gonna say a famous bowler, but I'll just say the Tiger Woods, the Babe Ruth, the Michael Jordan, the Muhammad Ali, the Jennifer Beals of bowling. She gets a strike and Carrie is so impressed. She was like, oh, every time. Look at her posture, look at her form. She's just a bowling champion. And Finley was like, oh, I see sparks flying, and I am gonna do something about it. Angie and her teacher/boyfriend, Hendrix, are at the hotel getting ready for his very first reading. He's wearing this hideous shirt, but also having a panic attack. Seemingly, they do go well because she figures out a way to calm him down. She holds him from behind and makes him breathe, and then decides to give him a gift, which I thought was actually sweet to calm him down. She was like, I know you're nervous about reading some of your most personal thoughts, so I'm gonna let you read my most personal thoughts. And I thought that was a really beautiful gesture, and that was very sweet of her. And it just goes to show the artistic side of her that was likely passed down to her by her mother, Beth. This gesture by Angie was very well received by her teacher/boyfriend, and he proceeds to hug her, kiss her, and they continue on and fade onto the bed. And we know what happens next. They probably use a small fraction of the Costco-sized condom box. So back at Fletcher's album release party, we have a really weird exchange going on. Micah's at the bar waiting for his lime juice, no lime rinds. And then he meets another man, just like him, who doesn't like the lime rinds because they're the dirtiest part, and they say it together. Now, honestly, when this was happening, I was like, oh, Micah's gonna leave Maribel for him. This is gonna be a romantic thing. That's where I thought this was going. I was wrong. The guy was like, I always try to tell that to my wife. She doesn't listen to me. And Micah's like, oh, neither does my girlfriend. Like, straight people, are you okay? Genuine question. And to make them more similar, the other guy's name is Michael. So we have Michael. Then we have the stunning Sophie coming in. Sophie enters Fletcher's album release party. A little overdressed, but damn, we appreciate it. She is wearing a beautiful dress with a slit up the side so her leg could peek on through. And she cannot tell me that she did that for herself. I know she did that for somebody at this party. We're just gonna find out who. Everybody's looking at her because, She is a little overdressed. She sticks out a little bit. Some woman in a red dress says, "I love your dress." And Sophie's like, "Thank you." Giving her the eyes. She quickly forgets about red dress girl because who calls her over? Oh, there they are. Dre, the love of everybody's life this season, or the last 2 episodes. So Dre grabs a drink for Sophie and was like, "You never told me you worked at the Alice show." She's like, "I would have used these connections a little bit sooner if I knew that." And Sophie obviously casually brings up that they hooked up once. She was like, "Well, the last time that I saw you, we didn't really talk." And then Dre says, "I could have sworn you said that you were applying for grants to make a documentary." And Sophie snapped back right into reality and was like, "Oh, I forgot about that." Which I took this moment as Sophie was telling Dre something that she really was passionate about. They were having a meaningful conversation. And she was just taken aback and impressed and probably turned on a little bit that Dre remembered. And she was like, "Wow. Oh, I forgot I was doing that. Yeah, you're right." And that's probably why she liked Dre in the first place. Danny comes in with Fletcher, gives Fletcher the rundown of how the night's gonna go, and then we cut right back to the insufferable Micah and Maribel arguing about something. She's uncomfortable with whatever he's proposing, and he's like, "Just hear me out." And then she says, "I'm not going to walk up to a stranger at an album release party and ask him for his sperm." Now, speaking of album release parties, a few years ago, or actually many, many years ago, I worked for a music store, and one of the representatives for, I want to say Columbia Records, he used to come in and invite us to things all the time. So we used to get tickets for shows. He did offer us, this was in 2008, he offered us Lady Gaga tickets at this small club, and we did not know who Lady Gaga was because at that point she was not known. And we said no. So yes, I have regrets. But I did go to an album release party of the artist The Dream. He's more of a producer, songwriter, and he's written some of the songs that you definitely know. But we went to his album release party. It was sponsored by Moet, and even though these were not souvenirs and we were not supposed to take these home, I came home with this bad boy. Very big, it's decorative, there never was alcohol in it. However, we did get to the party on a motorcycle, so I did hold this on a motorcycle all the way from the west side of Manhattan to Queens. So that was fun. This is one of my most prized possessions. Again, got it at an album release party. So let's see if anybody at this album release party comes back with any kind of souvenirs like a girlfriend, sperm, a decorative Moet bottle. I obviously think it's crazy to ask for sperm from a stranger, but we've seen Bet and Tina do it and they were desperate. So what would Bet do? That's how I always run my life. Somehow, Micah convinces her and she decides, okay, fine, I'll talk to him. We go back to Sophie and Dre. Sophie explains that she went to an ayahuasca retreat and had a musical hallucination. Dre says that they had an obsession with Newsies as a kid and wore a page hat for a very long time, which I wanted to see that, so I created it. Very cute, very cute. Sophie then casually mentions that she broke up with her girlfriend. And Dre was like, "Oh no, I'm sorry." And at first I thought she was being sarcastic and be like, "Oh no, that's so sad." But she was actually genuinely be like, "I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry that you went through a heartbreak." And Sophie was like, "Yeah, not so much." And then Sophie was like, "I should have texted you back." And maybe it was the moment. Maybe it was the romantic question she asked her about her documentary. Or maybe it was the alcohol. But Sophie goes in and kisses Dre. And Dre was like, I'm sorry. I thought we were just, friends or whatever. And anyway, I'm kind of feeling somebody else right now. And Sophie was like, "Oh, okay." Immediately and comically, they disperse from each other. Dre runs over to Danny, who she is feeling, and Sophie runs straight to the bar. She starts throwing him back. She ordered a triple of whatever that was. Vodka, tequila. It was a triple. So we're back at the bowling alley, and just like Finley, to do Finley things, she wants to get involved in matchmaking Carrie and Misty. She's talking to Misty while Carrie's up to bowl, and she's talking her up. She's being a great friend, a nice wing woman, and she's talking Carrie up and saying, "Wow, she's a great person. She's a great dancer. She's a great this. She's a great that. She's really into you." And Misty was caught off guard and was like, "Okay, she's great. Obviously, she's obviously the best, but yeah, I can't go with her because she's not my type." And just like the time last season where Bet and Tina were talking at the bar. Carrie is always lurking in the shadows. And there she was, and she heard the whole thing. And her feelings are hurt, and she is mad at Finley for bringing the whole thing up and ruining it. Carrie goes running off, and Finley goes to find her. Finley's going off to fix yet another problem she has caused. I'm getting tired of the Finley problems. Back at Alice's studio, we're still looking for that mysterious cat in the vents. They get a chair. Tom opens up the vent, starts snooping around. He almost gets a hold of that kitty, but he drops it. And then Alice says to him, "Did we miss it?" And he goes, "Yeah, I almost dropped that cat." And Alice goes, "No. Did we miss us? Should we try this again?" Tom was super caught off guard, came down off that stool and was like, "I'm seeing someone." And Alice was not yet thwarted. She was like, "Oh, okay. Well, is it serious?" And he was like, "Yeah, she's pregnant, so it's kind of serious." And then Alice was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's... Wrap it up, everybody, wrap it up, wrap up this plot." It is then an awkward moment and an awkward silence, but thank God the cat started meowing again, and Tom ran off to go look for the cat. We cut back to, I don't know, a bookstore, and Angie's teacher/boyfriend, Hendrix, is finishing up his reading, and it is clearly about a woman. And at first I thought, I don't think it's about Angie, but it seemed to be about Angie. A very romantic, very sweet poem? I don't know. Either way, he's super proud of himself. Angie's proud of him, and it's a beautiful moment. She goes up to him right after, and they hug. He thanks Angie and says, "I'm so glad that you're here." Right when they're having this sweet moment, they get interrupted by Steven Chavez of CAA, which I had to Google, which is the Creative Arts Agency. This whole interruption really gave me the same exact vibes as this gentleman in L Word original series, season 1, where Bet and Tina are having a party, and Tim gets summoned to do an interview by a sports writer. They almost look alike. I feel like in my head they're wearing the same thing, but I could be wrong. My memory could be not right, but it had the same exact vibe. Hendrix proceeds to introduce Steven to Angie as a student of mine. And Angie was not pleased at this introduction. Let me tell you, she gave the side eye of the century. She was disappointed in that. And to make matters worse, Steven is like, "It's so great to see young people interested in literature. Do you want a juice box, little baby?" Woo-wee. He must have thought that was a high school student. Ooh, that's embarrassing. Oh my God, that's embarrassing. And I just gotta say, I mean, I've always said this, Jordan Hall is a fantastic actor, but this scene just really did it for me. The way she reacted to him right here, like, Jordan Hall, you go, girl. Back at Fletcher's album release party, we are at the bar again with Micah and Michael, and Maribel has joined to meet him, to meet a potential sperm donor. They find out that Micah and Michael are both boring, and they were born to be old, and they came out of the womb as soccer dads already. Well, why didn't you just kiss already? Michael mentions that he wants to have kids someday, and Maribel and Micah are thrilled at this idea. Maribel's like, "I know we just met, but we're kind of in the market for a sperm donor, so could you help us? Could you give us a little squirt?" At first, Michael makes it look like he is abhorred, detests, disgusted, offended at the proposition, and he lets them suffer for what seems like an hour, but it's probably like 5 seconds. And then he goes, "I would be honored. Let me just go speak to my wife." Which, like, how do you even just like say anything other than "let me speak to my wife first"? If you have a wife, because she's going to want to have a say in that, I would say. And then he says, "I think she's really gonna love this." Like, what the hell? You think so? Okay. I mean, unless you've had a conversation about this already, which it seems that you have, because you seem pretty sure she'll be okay with it. So, all right, more power to you. Comically, Sophie is drunk and at the photo booths all by herself, which reminded me of this wedding I went to a few months ago, and there was a photo booth and there was literally only one child at this entire wedding, and she must have been, I don't know, 11 years old. I hope to be like that 11-year-old girl when I grow up one day. She was living her best life, putting on all of the accessories, hats, and costumes, taking tons of pictures by herself. She was my spirit animal, and Sophie was giving very much that same energy tonight. She's having a good time. So Sophie's walking around, looking at her pictures, looking how cute she looks, and she gets shoulder bumped by the woman in the red dress that told her she loved her dress earlier in the party. Now let me tell you something, red dress girl was doing this on purpose. She was really trying to get at Sophie, get a reason to talk to her, and it worked. They have a very flirty moment, and Sophie's like, "Can I refill your glass?" And she was like, "Of course." And they go off together. Back at the bowling alley, we are stressed out. Carrie is leaving, and Finley is chasing her out, trying to apologize for telling Misty that Carrie was into her. Carrie being heartbroken, just broken up with by her former fiance Tina, who left her for Bet, who she was already insecure about in the first place. You know, her ego is hurt. She probably has low self-esteem. She doesn't want to get hurt again. And so she says, I loved coming here to hang out with Misty. It was enough for me. But you ruined it. Now you made it awkward, and now I don't want to be around her because now she knows that I have feelings for her. And Finley was like, I wanted to make it right because I burnt the lasagna, which, like, no. Those are not equal. Finley's like, I'm gonna go fix it. And honestly, Carrie was all of us when she was like, you can't fix it, stop. Which was like, oh my God, yes, I've been wanting to shake Finley ever since last season, basically. So after this, we have sweet music playing, and Carrie's like, go get your shoes. And Finley's like, what? She's like, go get your shoes. You don't have shoes. We're gonna walk across this parking lot. There's needles, there's glass, there's this, there's that. And Finley's like, super surprised. And at first I didn't understand what it was. I interpreted it as Finley feeling like she was a child who was being told by a mother figure that, hey, we're going home, get in the car. But then after speaking to a friend about it, she said no. She was surprised that even though she hurt somebody, they didn't want to leave her. They were still going to take her home. They were still going to go home together because they're basically family. So I think for the first time she felt accepted. Even though she did something wrong, that person still loved her. So I think that was a beautiful little moment for Carrie and Finley. We get back to the hotel with Angie and her teacher/boyfriend Hendrix, and he cannot stop looking at his phone. He's just like, and Angie's like, can we talk? And he was like, yeah, when I get a second. Just like a man, totally oblivious to the fact that his girlfriend is mad at him, totally oblivious to the fact that she just said they want to speak. Like, that's when your ears should have perked up and you should have been paying all attention. He's embedded into his phone because that agent Steven Chavez had already emailed him and asked him to read the whole manuscript and is really interested in his work. And then Angie, the savage, was like, that's great. I'm really happy for you. Teach. She killed me with that one. Ooh, jam. So yeah, that's when he discovers that she's angry. And he's like, I'm sorry, I was just really nervous. I didn't know what to say, so I just introduced you as my student. I'm sorry. But Angie, you are my student. And I know I keep telling myself that this is okay, but I think I'm lying to myself. And it's like, yeah, no shit. Angie gets mad and she's like, all right, well, I'm gonna leave now. He's like, I'm falling in love with you and I think we have something real, but I don't think we should pursue this if you're still my student. And Angie was not trying to hear it, and she's like, I'm gonna leave. And he was like, well, at least let me drive you home. And she was like, in great Bet Porter fashion, was like, I can do it my effing self. Bye. We cut back to Fletcher's album release party. Fletcher and Dre are having a moment at the bar. They do Shot together, and Fletcher's like, I'm so excited to be with you during the beginning of your ride because I feel like you're gonna go places. Because remember, Dre sings. And Dre asks, are you into crystals? And Fletcher goes, of course, because lesbians. Although I'm not into crystals, I don't know much about them, but if you want to tell me more about them, let me know down in the comments what is a good crystal for me. Either way, Dre's excited. Danny comes in. Fletcher leaves, getting ready to perform. Danny was like, oh, that looks like it went well. And Dre was like, oh, yeah. Fletcher gave me her tour manager's number. So Danny was like, how did it go with Sophie? And Dre was like, it went fine, but then she kissed me, so that was weird. And Danny was like, huh, were you flirting with her? And Dre was like, well, is that a professional question? Like, guys, just kiss already again. Like, Danny, what are you waiting for? But it turns out, later on, we find out that Danny was just being respectful of Sophie because she knows that they hooked up and she didn't want to make it complicated. But before these two could hook up again, Fletcher begins to perform at the pool. Fletcher then proceeds to perform Becky's So Hot. And I'll link the video for that right here. And I'll leave it in the description down below to check out later. So while she's performing, a bunch of things are happening around the pool. People are vibing, people are watching, people are singing along. While Fletcher's performing, Danny's looking for Sophie because she kissed Dre, which, like, what was she gonna do? Yell at her? While Danny's standing with Maribel and Micah, they see Sophie across the pool with the lady in the red dress. And they're all like, wow, they're flirting. They're about to hook up, huh? They end up kissing. And then who sees it from across the pool? Oh, it's just the red dress lady's husband, Michael, the potential sperm donor. Sophie, being drunk and angry, starts arguing with Michael, like, what's your problem? Because Michael ran across and pulled them apart. He goes, this is my wife. And there's a little tussling going on. Sophie trips, falls backwards into the pool. Micah and Mirabel see the entire drama occurring across the pool and we're like, wow, cool. I don't think we're gonna have this baby with this man. So Sophie had fallen in the pool, made a big splash, literally and figuratively. Fletcher stops the show, wants to make everybody's all right. Now it's awkward and quiet and everybody's watching her trying to get out the pool. Danny comes over in her little fountainhead ponytail and she's scooching over and she's trying to pull her out the pool and she's like, why are we watching? Why is everybody watching? And it's like, what else are we supposed to watch? This is hilarious. And then they just show Fletcher looking down like, these crazy kids. We go back to this damn conversation that will never end at Alice's studio. They're still looking for that meowing kitten in the vents. So they, just like us, are on the hunt to see who is the one for Alice. So Tom was like, okay, let's figure it out. Who was it that you dated after Dana? And Alice was like, well, I kissed Lara, which I'm pretty sure you did more than kiss Lara, but okay, we'll take it. We'll go with that. And then she thinks a little bit more. She goes, Tasha? And Tom was like, yes, Tasha. And Alice is like, remember, Tom, we don't like Tasha, remember? And it was like, since when do we not like Tasha? What is there that you didn't tell us? And then, of course, they proceed to tell us what they didn't tell us because the L word loves to just give us these little 2-sentence explanations to explain something that happened 15 years ago that we've been wondering the whole time. So it turns out Tasha ghosted Alice after being with her for several years because she couldn't handle the fact that Alice was famous. Tom says she's a jerk and Alice says, thank you, that's the reaction that I like. And that's it. That's a wrap on the conversation for Tasha. But now we've opened this Tasha Pandora's box where everybody on TikTok and Instagram was telling me that it was Tasha the whole time. And I was like, no, it's obviously Tom because they're pointing in the Tom direction. But now it's clearly not Tom because Tom is basically going to marry somebody else, got somebody else pregnant. So is it really going to be Tasha? Because that's weird. We haven't really talked about Tasha. Let me tell you, nobody has mentioned Tasha on this show this entire Gen Q series. So it's surprising to me that it would be Tasha. And also, I don't think they were good for each other. Tasha was a great girl. She was sweet, but she was quiet and she didn't really like a lot of Alice's eccentricities. So I don't think they're a good match and I really hope it's not Tasha. But now it's looking like Tasha because who else could it be? Lisa? No. So finally they reach into vent number 3 and finally get the kitten that was been up there. And like, if it's been up there for days, like how is it alive? But okay, anyway, I will suspend my belief for this one moment that she has with this kitten. She loves it. It's so sweet. But wait, is the cat her soulmate? Is the cat the one? Because honestly, that's our best bet at this point. Back at Fletcher's album release party, it's pretty much over, and the lesbian Uber queen, Dani Nunez, is getting a car for yet another person. She's making sure that Sophie gets home safe. Sophie is drunk, and she is soaking wet, and her perm is no more. Danny's mad at Sophie for kissing Dre, and Danny's like, they were hitting on me all night and I pushed them away because of you. And you went and kissed them anyway. Finally, the car comes for Sophie. And I guess this is like a high class car service. So perhaps you can trust the drivers. But I don't think I would send a friend who was belligerently drunk into a cab by herself. But that's just me. Sophie hugs Danny, says, I'm sorry. She gets in the car and she's like, I love you. And they have a really cute moment that was just, it was true. It felt real. And Sophie tells Danny, you go get him, Nunez, aka you have my permission to pursue Dre at all costs and I will leave you alone. Danny resists for a few seconds but then says thank you. Okay, I will. In what was the realest moments of all L Word history, Sophie's super drunk, hanging out the car, and she's like, hey, tells Danny, I love you. And Danny's like, I love you too. And I honestly thought this was a beautiful moment. I liked it. So it's the end of the night. Fletcher's about to leave. Danny's like, I'm so sorry for acting unprofessional. Fletcher said the famous line in the trailer, it's the kind of sapphic chaos I live for. And congratulations, you all got what you wanted. That was pretty much it. A nice performance though. Thank God we got that. Back at the house, Carrie and Finley are home. Finley attempted a second lasagna of the day. And guess what? It was successful. They're about to sit down and have lasagna and the doorbell rings. Who could it be? It's not Halloween. No trick-or-treaters tonight. Christmas carolers? No, it's not Christmas either. Well, wouldn't you know, it's Misty. She's bringing back Carrie her bowling ball, and she's like, you left your ball. And she's like, no, I quit. I abandoned it. So Carrie's like, yeah, I quit, so I don't need the ball. And Misty's like, well, I just really wanted an excuse to come here and see you so I could tell you that I liked you. And she's like, I'm not used to being pursued, so I didn't even really know how to act, which, you know, it makes sense. So Carrie invites her in. She's like, the kid made lasagna. You want to come in? Are you hungry? And she's like, girl, I thought you would never ask. Let's go. So the three of them are going to have lasagna. Except it's not going to be the three of them because Finley's like, ooh, let me let you guys have your alone time. And it was really cute. She set a candle for them. And guess what? They kiss. They kiss right before dinner. It's usually after, but that's beautiful. They kiss, and it seems like this cute little couple is going to make it. Back at Angie's dorm, she walks in real sad, and Bella's like, "You're back early. I gave you my entire box of condoms. I thought you'd be there all night." And Angie was like, "We broke up." And she starts crying and Bella holds her, and I honestly think her and Bella are gonna hook up. And you know what? I hope they do. Alice is trying to figure out what to name the cat. It's gonna be Mr. Piddles or Piddles 2. Maybe Dana? How about Sounder? We cut back to Sophie's apartment where she is still wet but sobered up a little bit, and she's applying for film school. I guess Dre inspired her to go back and chase her dreams. While she's clicking submit to film school, Finley is clicking send to text messages to Sophie. She says, "Thinking of you," and Sophie responds by loving it, which I think is a cop-out always, but also like, oh, she loved it, and then she's giving Finley a window to talk and possibly get back together, and do you need to put us all through that again? Please, no. And then while she's reveling in this success that she had, in her hand, her phone starts ringing, and it's Mom. Somebody who she's not talked to in a long time. We don't really know why. I don't know if it's the gay thing or if it's an alcohol or drug thing, but either way, she doesn't want to know about it, so she takes her phone, flips it over, doesn't want to know, does not answer it. Back at the mansion where Fletcher's album release party was, party's over, but guess who's there? Dre sitting there skinny dipping in the pool, joined by Danny. She takes off her clothes, joins her, and they continue to make out and hook up, but not before deciding that this is not going to be anything serious. This is just going to be a fun thing because neither of them can deal with anything serious because Dre has an ex-girlfriend from high school and Danny's like, yeah, I don't want anything too serious, which means they're going to fall in love with each other and it's going to be a big problem. And that's the end of the episode. There you have it, folks. That was the L Word Gen Q Season 3, Episode 7 in the books. Please let me know your feelings about this episode. What did you like? What didn't you like? What would you have wished to see? If you haven't already, please hit subscribe. I put videos out every single week. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Check out my online store where I have cute little hat stickers, all original designs by me, inspired by my favorite LGBTQ movies and TV shows. Thanks again for watching, and join us next week for another episode of Nicole Reacts Up. Bye.